They walk among us, smiling faces, kind words, but hidden motives. Recognizing them isn't just a skill. It's a shield for your peace and purpose. Miss the signs, and you risk trusting the wrong people, opening doors to betrayal, manipulation, or even harm. Spotting these signals could save your relationships, your mental health, and your future. How can you protect yourself from the masked intentions of bad and fake people? Let's uncover the 7 key signals together. The capacity to see things as they are is the greatest strength in Zen and Buddhist philosophy. The rich tapestry of life contains both truth and falsehood. Those who embrace mindfulness have the wonderful opportunity to navigate these complexities, distinguishing light from shadow and sincerity from pretense. A well-known saying tells us, "The eyes are useless if the mind is blind." This lesson highlights the value of inner awareness, a trait that helps us look beyond appearances and truly understand the essence of those we meet. Travel through life, we encounter people who lift us up and inspire us, as well as those who cloud our way with dishonesty. Noticing such individuals takes more than just looking. It involves a heartfelt understanding. A talent that can protect us and lead us to freedom. Let's dive into a story that uncovers the 7 signs of untrustworthy individuals, blending thoughtful insights into an engaging tale of discovery. The Adventure of Understanding. Once there was a kind seeker who was on a journey to find enlightenment. Her master often encouraged her to see, not just with her eyes, but with her soul, as what seems to be true on the surface is rarely the complete story. One day, the master gave her a straightforward but intriguing task: travel the world, meet people, and figure out what's real and what's not. Return with what you have learned. With a respectful bow, the seeker began her journey, her heart open and her mind watchful. Signal 1. When words and actions don't match. At the beginning of her journey, the seeker encountered a merchant who shared thoughts on kindness and goodness. He proudly shared about the many people he had assisted and the kindness he extended to those in need. She watched him. She saw his servants shaking with fear and customers having heated discussions about prices they felt were unfair. The seeker recalled the master's lesson. The tongue may speak kindly, but the hands show the truth. She approached the merchant and asked, "If your words are sincere, why do your actions cause pain?" The merchant stumbled over his words, unable to explain his actions, and the seeker walked away, noticing the first hint of dishonesty. When what someone says doesn't match what they do, it often means something isn't quite right. This mismatch between what someone says and what they do can be a gentle, yet strong indication that we might be dealing with someone who isn't fully looking out for us. As Eckhart Tolle writes in The Power of Now, the mind is a superb instrument if used rightly. When used incorrectly, it can lead to some real problems. When what people say doesn't match how they act, it often means their thoughts are influenced by hidden motives or self-centered desires, instead of true integrity or authenticity. Signal 2. Over-the-top compliments. In the next town, the seeker met a scholar famous for his wisdom. He filled her day with kind words, admiring her wisdom and charm. However, his admiration seemed a bit too much, almost like it had been practiced. That evening, while they enjoyed dinner, the scholar proposed that she consider investing her savings into his project. It was then that she understood his compliments were a clever way to catch her off guard. She remembered the master's lesson. Be cautious of those who offer praise too freely. Their words may be sweet, but their intentions might not be pure. She politely declined his offer and moved forward, her eyes more alert than ever. Flattery can sometimes be seen as a way to influence and guide others, tapping into our natural wish for approval. In A New Earth, Tolle shares an important insight about the ego and its desire for external validation. The ego wants to keep you trapped in the past, trying to recreate what you have lost, or projecting into the future, hoping to gain what you don't yet have. It's essential to stay mindful of the ego's influence when we encounter excessive flattery, both from those giving compliments and ourselves as receivers. The scholar's kind words were a gentle way to influence the seeker's feelings, nudging her ego into a more delicate spot. Signal 3. A trend of chat. In a small village, the seeker encountered a woman who appeared friendly and welcoming. Over tea, the woman started sharing stories about others in the community, pointing out their quirks and little mistakes. The seeker first brushed it off as mere small talk, but as time went on, she came to see that the woman truly enjoyed sharing stories and tidbits about others. She recalled the Zen teaching, "The one who speaks ill of others empties their own cup of virtue." Seeker kindly approached the woman, asking, "If you find fault in everyone, what does it say about your own spirit?" The woman became quiet. Unable to respond. The seeker understood that people who share negativity about others usually do it to hide their own insecurities or shortcomings. Gossiping often points to something more going on with a person. It can be a way to shift attention away from their own insecurities by highlighting what they see as flaws in others. Eckhart Tolle talks about how the ego tries to keep control by projecting negativity outwardly. He writes, "The ego is always looking to enhance its identity, sometimes at the cost of others. Gossip can serve as a means for the ego to feel a sense of superiority and maintain division or conflict among people." Signal 4. Changes in behavior. As the seeker journeyed further, she made friends with a young artist whose charm and humor captivated everyone. She observed that his demeanor changed based on who he was talking to. With some, he was warm and friendly. With others, he was a bit brusque and unkind. She thought about the teaching, "A tree is known by its fruit and a person by their consistency." She approached the artist, asking, "Why does your face change with the wind? Are you feeling a bit unsure about your true self?" The artist simply shrugged, not wanting to admit to his trickery. The seeker understood that people who wear many masks are often concealing a deeper emptiness within. When someone shows inconsistency in their behavior, it often indicates that they might not be fully connected to their true self. Tolle shares in the power of now, the moment you become aware of the ego. You are no longer the ego. You are no longer the ego. People who frequently change their behavior to blend in with various situations or groups often do so from a desire for acceptance rather than from a genuine sense of self. They seem to be a bit out of sync with their true selves, which can lead to some unpredictability and inconsistency. Signal 5. Hesitation to say sorry. One day, the seeker met a leader who was well respected for his authority. During a meeting, he made a mistake that led to some inconvenience for many. When others mentioned it, he didn't apologize and instead shifted the blame to his team. The seeker watched quietly, remembering the master's wise words. Not admitting fault shows a fragile ego. She approached the leader and said, "Real strength is found in humility, not in denial." He brushed off her words, but the seeker could see beyond his facade. She realized that people who struggle to admit their mistakes often value their pride more than the truth. Eckhart Tolle shares that genuine humility arises when ego is not present. In A New Earth, he writes, "True humility is not thinking less of yourself. It is thinking of yourself less." The reluctance to apologize often comes from the ego's hesitation to acknowledge vulnerability or imperfection. When someone avoids responsibility, they may feel a sense of superiority, which can create an unhealthy power dynamic with others. Signal 6. Taking advantage of weaknesses. During her adventures, the seeker encountered a healer who said they could mend the troubles of the heart and mind. People gathered around him, seeking comfort. As she watched, she realized that his treatments were priced very high, taking advantage of those who were in pain. The master's teaching echoed in her mind. To exploit another's weakness is to burden your own karma. She approached the healer with curiosity, asking, If your gift is to heal, why do you add to their burden? The healer looked away, yet his quietness conveyed so much. The seeker departed, determined to protect her own vulnerabilities and those of others. Taking advantage of others' vulnerabilities shows a desire for power that comes at the cost of their suffering. Tolle talks about this dynamic in The Power of Now, where he mentions, when you complain, you make yourself into a victim. Leave the situation, change the situation, or accept it. All else is madness. The healer's exploitation of vulnerable individuals shows how trying to control others' suffering for personal gain can lead to chaos. On the other hand, genuine healing arises from compassion, empathy, and selflessness, rather than taking advantage of others' vulnerabilities. Signal 7. Hesitance to take responsibility. As her journey was coming to a close, the seeker encountered a mentor who had inspired and guided numerous disciples. Although his teachings were insightful, she observed that he struggled with accepting feedback or criticism. When others pointed out errors, he became a bit defensive and dismissive. The master's wisdom rang true. The wise see correction as a gift. The fool sees it as an insult. The seeker approached him, asking, "If you claim to guide others, why do you resist growth yourself?" He chuckled, not ready to change. The seeker understood that those who shy away from accountability often hesitate to grow. Not taking responsibility or accepting criticism can really show how the ego tries to protect itself. Tolle shares that the ego tends to resist change because it fears losing itself. In A New Earth, he mentions, the ego thrives on separation, on conflict. When someone avoids accountability, they are holding on to their ego and missing out on chances for personal growth and transformation. In this next part of the seeker's journey, we see her reach a deeper understanding of the lessons she had learned, discovering that each signal is not only a guide to recognizing fake and harmful people, but also a wonderful opportunity for personal growth. Eckhart Tolle often highlights that the journey of self-awareness involves not just looking at our external actions, but also exploring our inner state to find clarity and peace. The seeker's reflections resonate with Tolle's teachings in The Power of Now and A New Earth, highlighting the significance of being present and embracing a sense of inner stillness. Tolle shows us that we can get wrapped up in the illusions of the ego, and by noticing these patterns, we can rise above them and live in harmony with our true essence. 1. When words and actions don't match, a plea for integrity. The seeker thought about how the merchant's words didn't match his actions, which helped her understand just how important integrity really is. Tolle reminds us in The Power of Now, whenever you feel like you are in conflict with someone, remind yourself that it is not you who are in conflict, but your ego. The merchant, while discussing virtue, was clearly influenced by egoic desires. His actions did not match his words. The seeker, while thinking about her own journey, understood that to be genuinely herself, she needed to make sure that her thoughts, words, and actions matched her deepest truth. This alignment, Tolle would say, is all about embracing the present moment, free from the ego's distractions. The master's words truly struck a chord. To recognize misalignment in others, you must first examine yourself. The seeker's promise to embrace mindfulness and integrity reflected Tolle's teachings of being honest and authentic, which calls for the bravery to be present with oneself, free from the ego's masks. 2. Too much praise. The pitfall of pride. The seeker noticed the potential risks of seeking validation from the scholar's excessive flattery. Tolle often discusses the ego's endless desire for approval in A New Earth, where he mentions the ego believes that it is its thoughts, its emotions, its image in the world. It seeks to be validated constantly, and yet it is never satisfied. The scholar's praise, while it may sound nice, was actually a way to manipulate. The seeker discovered that looking for approval from others won't bring true and lasting peace. Tolle suggests that true self, Worth comes from within and isn't reliant on what others think. The master's lesson was clear. True self-worth does not come from the opinions of others, but from the quiet confidence of a clear conscience. The seeker embraced this wisdom, practicing humility and nurturing authentic connections. By doing so, she could step back from the ego's desire for validation. 3. Gossip. The harmful nature of words. The seeker's meeting with a chatty woman highlighted how harmful words can affect others. Tolle often talks about how harmful negative speech can be and highlights the value of communicating mindfully. In The Power of Now, he writes, "To watch the mind is to create a space between the ego and the conscious observer, and in that space, transformation can occur." The seeker's reflection on her own speech showed how easy it is to slip into patterns of negativity and gossip. By being present and mindful of her words, she could choose to speak with warmth and understanding. The Master's wisdom. Words are like seeds. What you plant in the minds of others will grow. This reminded the seeker that her speech, just like her thoughts, could either help others flourish or cause harm. She decided to use her words to heal and uplift, following Tolle's idea of creating space for peace and transformation. 4. Inconsistent behavior can really highlight the importance of being genuine. The seeker found themselves concerned about the artist's changing behavior, coming to understand that being true to oneself is essential for a peaceful life. In A New Earth, Tolle shares, the more you are able to live in the present moment, the more your actions and behavior will be in alignment with your true self. The artist's inconsistent behavior came from a lack of self-awareness, which is often a sign of the ego seeking approval and validation from others. The seeker started to reflect on her own habits of wearing masks or changing her behavior based on the company she kept. The Master's teaching, authenticity, is not just about how others perceive you. It is about being at peace with yourself. Encouraged the seeker to embrace her true nature. Tolle's focus on embracing authenticity in the here and now really struck a chord with her. She discovered that being grounded in the present means there's no need for masks or pretending. 5. Hesitation to say sorry. The power of being humble. The seeker's meeting with the leader who wouldn't say sorry really showed how important humility is. In A New Earth, Tolle writes, ego's inability to admit mistakes or apologize is a sign of its fear of vulnerability, for it sees vulnerability as weakness. The seeker started to think about her own hesitation to acknowledge when she was wrong. The idea that apologizing is actually a sign of strength rather than weakness was such a meaningful insight. Being humble, as Tolle would say, is all about being present and embracing the fleeting nature of our ego's errors. The seeker discovered that real strength comes from being able to confront one's own imperfections with a sense of humility and openness. She promised herself that she would never let her ego stop her from admitting when she was wrong, understanding that those moments are chances for growth and change. 6. Embracing vulnerabilities. The strength of kindness. The seeker's encounter with the healer, who took advantage of others' vulnerabilities, prompted her to think about her own compassion. In The Power of Now, Tolle highlights how essential it is to be fully present with others, embracing them without judgment or exploitation. He writes, "True compassion arises when you see the suffering in others, and you feel that suffering as your own." The seeker was reminded to be mindful of how she treated those in need, ensuring that her actions reflected her kindness rather than exploiting others for her own gain. Master's wisdom, compassion, is the highest virtue, helped the seeker realize that true compassion comes from a genuine understanding of how all beings are connected. By staying present and open, she could provide support and kindness without any hidden agendas or ulterior motives. 7. Embracing accountability. A journey of growth. The seeker thought about how the mentor hesitated to take responsibility, which helped her realize just how important it is to grow. Tolle often discusses how the ego tends to resist feedback, viewing criticism as a challenge to its identity. In A New Earth, he writes, the ego sees itself as the doer of actions, and any challenge to its sense of control is met with defensiveness. Thika understood that genuine growth can only occur when one is receptive to correction and feedback. The Master's reminder, the wise do not fear criticism, for they see it as an opportunity to refine themselves, really struck a chord with the seeker, who promised to welcome feedback as a wonderful gift instead of viewing it as a threat. Tolle's teachings highlight that by letting go of the ego's desire for control, we can evolve into more enlightened and compassionate individuals. The ultimate teaching, awareness as freedom. The seeker realized that the 7 signals were more than just a way to spot fake and harmful individuals. They were about nurturing self-awareness and kindness. Tolle shares in the power of now. Awareness is the greatest agent for change. When you are aware, you are free from the ego's control, and you can act from a place of love and truth. The seeker discovered that by nurturing awareness, she could not only shield herself from harm, but also help others find their way to truth and healing. The Master's teachings helped her realize that discernment, at its heart, is really about nurturing compassion and understanding rather than making judgments. The seeker bowed deeply, realizing that the path to self-discovery was not only about recognizing insincere individuals, but also about awakening her own awareness. By living mindfully and practicing presence, she could navigate life's challenges with clarity and peace, embracing the teachings of both Zen and Eckhart Tolle. Journey of thoughtful awareness. With her heart now grounded in awareness, the seeker moved forward, welcoming each moment as a chance for growth. She realized that the secret to spotting insincerity in others is by nurturing a strong bond with her own truth. Just as Tolle teaches, when you are present, you are aligned with the flow of life, and life flows through you effortlessly. The seeker, guided by mindfulness and compassion, continued her journey, her step steady, her heart open, and her soul free from the illusions of the ego. Ultimately, the seeker's journey was not just about spotting the negative and insincere individuals in her life, but also about discovering her own true self and awakening her consciousness. Through self-awareness and being present, she shone brightly in the world, inspired by the wisdom of Zen and the teachings of Eckhart Tolle. If you want to continue on your journey of self-discovery, make sure to subscribe to this channel to assure living more in the present moment. Reply with the word "now" in the comments if this message resonated with you, and if you want to continue growing in the future. Also, consider giving this video a likes or sharing it with someone who might benefit from a gentle reminder to slow down in life and be more awake.